Off the Hook, airing on offthehooksports.com, your home for real news, real opinions, and what really matters about Tennessee athletics. The Off the Hook podcast at offthehooksports.com or Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or wherever you go for your favorite podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Off the Hook with Dave Hooker starts now.
I call her Amanda LaFratta. Sometimes our listening audience calls her Hottie LaFratta, but I don't subscribe to that. I'm Dave Hooker with Amanda LaFratta. We're starting a little bit earlier this morning at 8:30 as we're going to appeal to those that are in drive time, and we hope you are one of those people. We want to be part of your day each and every day, so be sure and click that subscribe and like button. It helps us show up higher on your feed so that we can bring you more content from Chris Landry, a great football analyst. We can get Cooper Mays, Jacob Warren, Josh Ward, John Adams, and the hostess with the mostest, Amanda LaFratta. So again, like and subscribe. Good morning, Amanda. How are you?
Good morning, Dave. I am doing well. How are you?
I'm well. So a big show on tap today that I'm looking forward to, that we are going to hear from Cooper Mays, his thoughts on Darnell Wright, who you may have not known this, but is one of the most talented athletes on Tennessee's football team. I don't care if he's over 300 pounds or not. Also, we're going to hear from Jacob Warren before the end of the program. What about this JWT thing? I'm trying to make the nickname acronym take off. It's not happening. Justin Williams-Thomas, are you okay? Justin Williams-Thomas get you all choked up. So do you want to share with the listeners there what you said about the picture that I chose for the story on Justin Williams-Thomas, or you didn't like the picture a lot?
It looked like an adult film.
Okay, I just thought it was a good picture. I'm sorry. I picked the picture.
Why do you have him like naked? I don't understand that.
It was on his Instagram. I just thought it was a good looking picture. He looked like a big fit dude.
I feel like that's saying something, and that makes me nervous.
It's not saying anything. So if you want to share your comments, you can chat at any point. To be honest with you, it's the first pick I came up with. He's not a big Instagram guy, so I picked it and rolled with it. So anyway, but Tennessee does have some news on the recruiting front that we're going to get to. We just posted on offthehooksports.com. So Tavian Gadsden appears as if he'll be close to his decision as we go ahead and get to headlines. Headlines now is brought to you by our friends at Honey Bee Coffee. And Amanda, Honey Bee Coffee is only the best coffee. Period. End of discussion.
Drink it in the morning. Love it, love it, love it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely wonderful.
Top 5% of beans, and you can order all online. So knock out your coffee shopping duties all right there. Honeybee, but they also have several locations. Honeybee Coffee brings you headlines today. So Tennessee, let's go ahead and get to it as we dive into the headlines. I want to get back to that recruiting note, but we did have the top 25 come out last year. Now, this is the coaches poll. So Amanda probably knows this, but for those that don't, I just want to share. Nick Saban has not filled out a coaches poll in probably 15 years. Okay, so the bottom line, I mean, the sports information, depending on Saban, strikes me as a guy who doesn't even care at all, but other guys do. But typically a sports information person will fill it out and then say, hey, coach, how about this? And they'll give it a quick glance. It's not the most important thing of their day, nor would you want it to be the most important thing of your favorite team's coach's day. So, but Amanda, still, I thought there were some interesting tidbits to be taken from that, one of which Tennessee, if you add up the voting, would have been 28th, but they only do a top 25. So they're not in the rankings at all. How did that strike you initially? Because you texted me that yesterday, and I really thought you were kidding. I thought Tennessee would be around the 17 or 18 mark.
I was very, very shocked, honestly, like extremely shocked that they weren't even up there when you had schools like Wake Forest up there. Like, what? Like Wake Forest? Utah is way up there, which surprised me, but you have Pitt who is up there. And if I'm not mistaken, when I looked at the DraftKings betting lines, Tennessee was projected to beat Pitt at Pitt.
Yeah, and I'm just
So
gonna look at it from a purely football standpoint, Amanda. They don't have a guy named Kenny Pickett. I'm sorry, there are a lot of programs that can benefit off a player like that for 1 year and be really good. It doesn't mean they're suddenly perennial championship contenders, and I don't think we would confuse Pitt for that.
what's the award? Is it the Litnikoff? Is that's
The Fred
for a wide receiver?
Yes.
Okay, so they had a Biletnikoff like winner last year, and I think his name was Addison, and he transferred out.
Yeah.
So you're
I don't know
winning or you're losing two huge players out of your offense, and that just doesn't translate to like 17th or 16th in the nation to me. But
Yeah,
that's
me neither. Me neither. Your thoughts, if you want to go ahead and shoot us a text message on Tennessee not being in the top 25. Another,
I didn't put my number out there, so I can't get text messages from our listeners.
I just mean via the YouTube and the Twitter and all that fun stuff.
Okay,
But Amanda's number is 865.
No, it's not.
No,
It's not.
anyway, so more news that came out yesterday that did affect Tennessee or could potentially affect Tennessee. So we talked about this briefly. I think it happened during the show or right before. So Oklahoma assistant football coach Kel Gundy resigned from the Sooners, saying he inadvertently read a word that I should have never under any circumstance. So I went ahead and did the thing that you should never do with racially charged issues is I made an assumption. But in this case, my assumption was right. He used the N-word publicly in front of his players at a meeting. Now, it's even worse. Now, he used it.
He read it.
He read it. He read it. He read it.
Used it.
Well,
you have to say he read it.
I'm going to say I think one of those words is one because what he did is he read it repeatedly off a player's iPad, repeatedly and emphatically.
Correct.
So it would be one thing if I said, let's pretend the word is Amanda that I'm not supposed to say. So let's say the sentence is, I can't stand Amanda, or Amanda's no good, or something like that. Okay, so if I say I can't stand Amanda, whoa, I didn't mean to say the A word. That's my bad. My bad. But I was told and read that he repeated it with emphasis. Emphasis? Is that a word? Emphasis.
I don't think so.
He repeated it with emphasis, the N-word, and that's why he resigned. He didn't have a choice. But Amanda, the first thing you brought up, Oklahoma has a tie to who? Josh Heupel. So,
yeah. Well, the only reason I brought that up is because a lot of people on Twitter think that it's more than just this for the guy to resign. It's because apparently his players wanted him to stay. So it's more than just this that happened. It's Venables is the problem, apparently. So
it feels like, to be real honest with you, they just hired Derek Dooley. I mean, it feels like they're getting ready to go on one of those trajectories because, listen, I like Brent Venables a lot. I thought he did a lot of great things at Clemson. But at the end of the day, is he a head coach? Prove it to me. I haven't seen it yet. I have no reason to believe it. So what would have to happen for Josh Heupel to take a serious look at Oklahoma, where he was the coach? One, Brent Venables has to get fired. That's going to happen. Two, I don't know if it's 3 years or 4 years or when it is, but that's going to happen. Two, the athletic director, I'm told, would probably, at least the administration in large part, would have to change. Because you remember they fired Josh Heupel when they should have fired their defensive coordinator at the time, but he happened to be brothers with the head coach. So the Stoops family won out in that one. Now, Bob Stoops is at Southern Cal, but his brother was the defense coordinator. So despite scoring 38.8 points per game, they fired Josh Heupel. And Heupel went to UCF, has had a great time. He's gone to Tennessee and has had success. But, Amanda, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's something Tennessee fans always need to keep an eye on. The same way, I'm going to show my age, Johnny Majors went to Pitt, won a national championship, won a Heisman Trophy for a guy named Tony Dorsett that changed into Dorsett as the years went on. Same thing with Theismann. You know that? It was Theismann, but they changed it to Theismann because it rhymes with Heisman.
Did not.
Yeah, that didn't keep him from breaking his leg in the NFL. But anyway, so
Wow.
yeah, so it can't. So Pitt, was always worried in the 70s that Tennessee was going to come calling. It was a matter of time. And Johnny Majors, I think, much like Lane Kiffin, that's the one job in Southern Cal. Johnny Majors, the one job he would have taken would have been to Tennessee. He would have left Pitt for Tennessee. And he did that. And so I think that is always a concern. I think football changes immensely. I mean, how many athletic directors has Tennessee had in the past 3 years? If you count, 4, I guess. The current one, Danny White, Philip Fulmer. You had the short run with John Curry and Dave Hart. So in the past 3 years, they've had 4 athletic directors.
When was Mal Moore there?
I'm talking about Tennessee. You're talking about
Okay, was Mal Moore not there at
No.
Tennessee? I thought he was.
No, he was at Alabama, but those 4 ADs have all served time at Tennessee in the past 3 years. So to dismiss it and say there's no way Josh Heupel is going back to Oklahoma would be a little too simplistic. But I don't think it happens anytime in the near future. By near future, 2 or 3 years in college football. That's near future. But certainly, I think it's something to keep an eye on. And I don't think Oklahoma fans that are used to scoring, 40, 50 points a game are going to like Brent Venables, who's a defensive coach. And they're probably going to be more ground and pound than any Oklahoma fan ever dreamed. Plus, they're coming into the SEC. I mean, if you're buying stock in Brent Venables, you know something that I don't know right now, Amanda, because I just do not see it working out.
I don't see it working out for him either. But as Coach Brian always said, when mama comes calling, you go home. So would be, if I were a Tennessee fan, that would be my concern with Josh Heupel, and Oklahoma being in the spot that they're in. Also, the rumor out there is that Brent Venables at Clemson did something that was not great. There was some kind of drama there, and it seems like at Oklahoma there's some kind of drama there. So I could see him getting an early exit. So that would be my concern as a Tennessee fan right now.
Well, I mean,
But
could Josh Heupel be the head coach of Oklahoma in 2026? Certainly. I mean, it wouldn't stun me. Could he be the head coach at Oklahoma in 2023? That would stun me. 1, he has a big buyout, but 2, I just don't think he likes those dudes running the program, and I don't think they're particularly fond of him. So people don't get along sometimes. That's fine. I don't think those two parties get along. So I don't think it's going to happen immediately, but 2025 in college football is like an eon away.
yeah, well, what's funny to me is that at least, if that did happen, Tennessee would be getting money for a coach instead of shelling out somebody's contract.
Yeah.
Like they've done the past 10 years.
Buyout you. Basically, if you're a janitor there, I think you get like an $80,000 buyout out the door. They've paid off athletic directors, basketball coaches, football coaches, athletic directors again, football coaches again, basketball coaches, just about everybody that you could possibly imagine. Okay, so I did want to we're going to have a full recap on Cruton coming up here in just a little bit, but I did want to get to this. Tennessee just heard word that they might pick up a commitment on Thursday. Tavion Gadsden announced that he will go public with his pledge on Thursday at 2:00. 6'4", 280-pound defensive lineman from Jenkins High School in Savannah, Georgia. Now, Georgia is in on him too and has offered him recently, I'm told. So I'm not saying this is lock, stock, and barrel for Tennessee by any stretch of the imagination. Amanda, this is what I will say, though, that he recently visited Tennessee. So I think you always like that last say. So they have somewhat of a last say with Gadsden, and I think that's helpful. But I have no reason to believe that the young man is definitely going to end up at Tennessee. Now, one other note before I get your thoughts on Gadsden I did want to throw out there is he didn't even go so far as to name his list of finalists, which they usually always do in those placards or video overlays that they use. So she hates the word placard.
It's just a graphic. It's just a graphic.
Great graphic. Okay, so he didn't. Usually they have the schools all listed. He didn't do that. He just had a big chain around him, looking all cool and stuff. And but per 247 Sports, he named Florida State, Georgia, Kentucky, Minnesota, and Tennessee.
Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't know how the Golden Gophers got in there, but that's who they named. So, your thoughts on Gadsden announcing on Thursday? Is that something Tennessee fans should be excited about, or do we know, or are we guessing?
I mean, I think it's something they need to keep an eye on. I don't necessarily think they should be excited about it, considering that he hasn't even, I mean, it was the last visit for him. However, that doesn't always equate to a commitment, because sometimes you just know where you're going, but you're just like, screw it. I'm just going to go, have fun at these colleges, see what happens. Like, you already know that you're going to have a free trip. I'll take it.
Yeah. And you don't have to tell us her name. But anyway, with Gadsden, it would be a monster pickup. But I don't think there's any question about that and getting into Georgia. But switching gears a little bit on you, back to, so Texas received one first place vote in the coaches poll. You pointed that out this morning. It's part of the reason I love you, is because I was thinking, I saw that and I was like, well, who in the bleep would do that? Who would vote? And so I purposely didn't look at your entire tweet, like who it might be, but I did look at the schools you mentioned eventually. So lay that out for me. Who might have voted Texas number one? Because coaches will do this, or they'll have their assistants do this. They'll place guys higher than they should be to put more pressure on them.
So this is
for that. Sorry.
No, you're fine. So this is going to be today's tough question. Which coach / team gave Texas the number one vote? And I have a few ideas. Number one, I think, is Lane Kiffin. Just because, and he fills that ballot out. I mean, I guarantee you he does.
He is probably the one. I will give you that. He's probably the one in the SEC that does it himself.
Yes, two. There's Kiffin and there's Leach. And I really think Leach probably goes in there and does it also, just to have something to talk about randomly. But
he says in between picks.
I love Mike Leach. I think Mike Leach is hilarious. I love him. But anyway.
Agreed.
Kiffin, I could see Kiffin doing it just to troll because it's Kiffin. I could also I have to see who stands to gain the most. And I know right now there's a big battle between, is it Texas A&M or no, USC and Texas A&M. So that doesn't even make sense. Or is it USC and Texas?
Well, first of all, I have not done you right by this at all. I mean, if we're going to do today's tough question, we've got to do today's tough question.
I'm going to do it.
Your research.
So we're working like heck.
Today's tough question. What's the real debate?
You sipping my soupe, Guadalupe?
Exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker and Amanda LaFratta.
You drinking my sake, kimosabi?
Oh my God.
Some call her Hottie LaFratta. I just call her Amanda.
Wow.
All right. So what is today's tough question and what do we got? Thank you,
So it's going to be, which coach / team gave Texas the number one vote? And I'm going either Kiffin, Ole Miss, Jimbo Fisher, A&M, just because they're very much, a rivalry and they hate each other, and we all know that. Now, is it USC that was taking or trying to convince a Texas quarterback to go, or is Texas trying to convince a USC quarterback to go, or is it Texas A&M?
Malachi Nelson is, since the UCLA and USC joined the Big Ten, he has taken a look at Texas, I believe, right? So
was it Texas or A&M? I think it was Texas.
Yeah, it was Texas, which seems weird because they've got Arch Manning there. But anyway, yeah, he did take a look at those. Malachi Nelson. Now that could open things up and make things weird for Tennessee, because I know that Nico Iamaleava really liked Southern California before he committed to Tennessee. So there are a couple of things in play that could gum up the works for the Vols. I don't think that's going to happen. Good morning to you as well, Orange Blood, but it's worth watching. So who do you think cast that number one vote for Texas? Because obviously they are not the best team in the nation. From everybody
So-
else, from everybody I talked to, it's Alabama, drop off Georgia, drop off Ohio State, big drop off everybody else. Sorry, go ahead.
So, I'm going to finish my options.
Okay, I'm ready. I get excited.
I see that. So Kiffin, Ole Miss. I'm going to go Riley, USC as an option, just because they don't like what Texas is doing at the moment. I'm going to go Venables from from Oklahoma, just because they're obviously rivals. And then I'm debating other, or I'm debating like Gundy from Oklahoma State.
I don't necessarily think it would be Lincoln Riley, because why would he want to make them look like the number one team? And I don't see him as being that vindictive and weird.
No one is trying to make them look like the number one team. This is an obvious troll.
Yeah.
An obvious troll.
But I also think it's raise their ranking a little bit and raise expectations. Yeah, some fans will say, "Oh, you got one first place vote back in 2022. Where are we in 2024?" You'll get some of that. But anyway, it's with malicious intent. It is a troll job.
Or it's Sarkisian himself.
I'm gonna say it's Sarkisian himself. I'm gonna take the altruistic way out, and I don't
Not really altruistic though.
Well, no, of your choices. I mean, of all of your other choices, they're trolling. Of him, he's at least saying, "I think we're darn good." I can respect that.
I can't respect that. You know you're not number one. Like, you know you're not number one. This is very obvious.
Okay, so shoot us a text and or a message, and we will be glad to read that. Who do you think? Again, what are our choices? It's on the Twitter too. You can vote there. Who are our choices as to who voted Texas number one in the coaches poll? Amanda?
So are we going to take out Riley from USC just because?
I'm completely comfortable whatever direction you want to go.
Okay. So I guess we'll do Kiffin from Ole Miss. We'll do Fisher from Texas A&M, Venables from Oklahoma, and Sarkisian from Texas.
Okay. I'm taking Sarkisian with Lane. Be sure and tag Lane in that. With Lane a close second, you never know. You never know. I would say Lane is a close second in that regard. But I'm ultimately going to go with Steve Sarkisian. I don't have a problem at all if he says, "I think we're the number one team in the nation." By the way, like and subscribe. That way we'll get to be a part of your day. We air each and every day at 8:30 in the morning. Carry you right up until about 10 o'clock or so when we get all the good stuff out. So I don't see I don't see it being the other coaches. Lane wouldn't surprise. Lane seems like the type of guy that would chill out with that piece of paper for a couple hours on a Sunday afternoon and take time to fill it out and think in the back of his mind, how can I gig somebody a little bit? So
I think Lane would just take it and giggle and be like, Texas.
Yeah. I mean, I think he'd have fun. Kind of like a crossword. It's his own personal private crossword puzzle. Being in the coaches poll is basically a Sunday afternoon. That's what he does. Every other coach gives it to his GA. I've got a feeling that Lane Kiffin actually fills his out.
I can't believe that they put I can't believe they put Ole Miss in the top 25, to be honest, over Tennessee. That's another thing that I feel. I cannot believe they put Ole Miss in there over Tennessee. Really?
Well, wouldn't you argue that Ole Miss did beat Tennessee? I mean, I don't disagree with you.
When they faked all their injuries, but
when they lost their best quarterback. I mean, I think that, let's be real clear. I think Tennessee's a 17-18 team. Okay, so I'm just playing devil's advocate a little bit.
You think Tennessee's a what?
A 17-18. That's where I would rank it,
Oh,
somewhere in there.
I thought you said like a 7-8 team, and I was like, that goes against everything you've been saying for like the last 2 weeks.
No, 17. I think they're around 19-20. I don't think would have been a slight at all. You know, some fans will take those any way they can. John said, had to be Sark. He's the only one that can be delusional enough to think that. See? Already on board, John. Thank you.
I just think that I don't even think he's delusional enough to think that. Somebody has to be trolling. Someone has to be trolling Texas. Even Texas fans are like, someone's trolling us because there's no way that we are number one in the nation. Even Texas fans are coming out like on Twitter and being like, there's absolutely no way. This is ridiculous. Like, who did this?
So today's tough question, who voted Texas number 1? And you can vote on Twitter, or you can send us your message here. We are everywhere on the YouTube, on the Twitter, on the Facebook. Got all kinds of good stuff for you today. Not only today's tough question, but I did want to get to one Cooper Mays, who shared his comments on Darnell Wright. You may not know it, but Darnell Wright, who is about to suit up and play right tackle today, is one of the best athletes on the team. He played left tackle. He's a potential first-round pick in the NFL, but he's willing to move to right tackle, which is the less sexy of the two positions. Why? Because Tennessee believes they can find another left tackle, and Darnell can naturally slide to right. Usually, players view this as an insult. He is not that type of player. He's selfless, and he can do a backflip handstand thingy that sounds really difficult for a 300-pounder.
That handspring?
Yes, that. Cooper Mays, explain that to me, sir.
He's a guy that's very, he's here to help, wherever he can, just like most of the guys in the room. So he's a very special talent, a very good guy. He's one of my best friends, and the sky is really the limit for him. People don't really know this, but Darnell is like a once in a very long time type athlete. Like the way he moves and everything is really special, honestly.
Let's delve a little bit deeper into that. What do you mean, the way he moves?
Like just being like he's a good 6'6", 3, 35 or whatever he is, around in that range, and he can move better than I can, dang near, probably a little bit better. He does a lot of freaky stuff on the football field, like as far as like getting out of his stance and just doing like unorthodox movements. It's hard to explain. You kind of just have to see it, but like he does like some stuff that just is very off the wall, like special. Like that most people, just normal human beings, can't do stuff that he does at the speed at which he does it as well.
You're just talking about football strictly, or have you seen other things that he's done maybe off the field that you're like, whoa, that guy?
Oh, I mean, yeah, he can. I think he went out there on the complex, like the indoor field, did a back handspring one time when he first got here. There's a video of him maybe in a state tournament in West Virginia where like it was like a fast break, and he's just as big as he is now, but he's playing basketball, and it was in a state tournament, and he caught a ball like midair and like did a 360 and like threw the ball back and had a perfect pass to a teammate. Just you can't really explain what like he can do. It's very crazy.
So Cooper Mays comments brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. City Heat and Air, over 50 years of integrity. That means a lot. Back in 2 minutes, and we may have to make a slight tweak to the Twitter poll because one of our options actually doesn't vote in the coaches poll, I was just told.
Who?
Back in 2 minutes.
Gary Viles here. I want to personally invite you to North Knoxville's newest sports bar and restaurant. It's Big Orange Phillies, located in Black Oak Center. And yes, folks, it's happening in Halls. Big Orange Phillies offers family-friendly environment with homemade meals and the best deli-style subs around. Billiards, darts, jukebox, shuffleboard, and cornhole, and a full bar. We also offer valet parking on weekends and during special events. We even have a covered back patio. It's happening at Big Orange Phillies. We want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
This is Al's Dish Barbecue Supply, so come on in and see all the different rubs and sauces we have, plus a complete line of Green Mountain grills. Don't be overwhelmed. We have plenty of help so you can produce the best barbecue and amaze your family and friends. Barbecue is America's food. We'll do what we can to bring you all the best products. We're Al's Nest Barbecue, where Chattanooga goes to grill.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassy Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassy, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassy's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassy Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
So it couldn't have been Lane Kiffin because only 66 coaches have a vote. And I have to be honest with you, in 25 years in the media, I didn't know that. I thought they all had a vote or the option to vote or some shape, form, or fashion. Not all, but 112. So if it's not, we can just, who would? We can do one of two things to today's question. We can make
How
it.
does Lane Kiffin not have a vote?
They just rotate it. I mean, when I worked, when I was a member of the Associated Press, they rotated who you did at they rotated the AP top 25. It had nothing to do with stature or notoriety. It was just a rotation, and I politely declined every single time because doing the top 25 is 4 hours of your Sunday.
Did you just make a weird flex?
I didn't mean to. You mean like a muscular flex?
No, when you
Okay.
make
I did not, but I have been working.
when you make when you make a weird flex, that means like a bragging on something like that you did, or like, oh, I had the option.
No, I didn't mean it like that at all.
That's a flex.
No, I was busy working on my
That's a weird flex.
No, I was busy working on my husband. But so the mattress place has been there for 22 years on Chapman Highway. They are Marine Corps veteran owned. They're A+ accredited members of the Better Business Bureau, and they're all about integrity. No gimmicks, just 30 to 70% off every single day. That is the mattress place. So you need to check them out. They're great people, and they're just a couple of miles from downtown Knoxville, so they can take care of you if you're moving that student in or whatever the case may be. So Amanda, Tennessee with a scrimmage this afternoon. This morning, maybe when you're listening, but Tennessee with a scrimmage on Tuesday. And a couple of questions that we pointed out that Tennessee wants to address in the scrimmage that I want to get to. First, I want to give a shout out to Vols Steak. I think Josh Pate and Paul Feinbaum has a soft spot for Tennessee. Well, Josh Pate is the big. Well, what all does Josh Pate do? I heard him with our friends in the morning round. I don't know. He's got a lot of. I don't know.
I don't follow.
Yeah, I don't either. Paul Feinbaum graduated from Tennessee, so I know that.
Yeah, that makes sense. But Josh Pate's the one that comes out and says, if someone commits, which was hilarious. So if someone commits, then they're going to that school. It doesn't matter, NIL, like whatever, they're going to go to that school. And then literally either the day or the next day somebody just flipped. They flipped, like two people flipped their commitments. And it was like, oh.
Well, I mean, commitments do typically stick,
Not in
But
the NIL. This is new. This is new game.
yeah, but I still think if you come out and make a public commitment, you're going to stick 90% of the time, right? I don't
In
think
the
that's
NIL, though, this is uncharted territory, so we have no idea what's going to happen.
okay. Well, I will base it off this. I think that once the final decision has been made, regardless of NIL, I still think the vast majority stick with their commitments. But are there going to be flips? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's going to be big time flips. Okay, worst case, let me use it for somebody else because Tennessee fans will get mad at me, okay? Please like and subscribe because we want to be a part of your day. Hit that subscribe button now. Let me use an example. Malachi Nelson, because I'm not going to use the Tennessee player. Malachi Nelson blows out his ACL in the first game or let's say the last game of the regular season. So we're in late November, right? So that puts him on a timetable to return at best his freshman year in college at Southern California, right? So do you think if that happened to him that Lincoln Riley wouldn't give a call to some other quarterbacks? Do you think Nico
Obviously.
Iamaleava would be on the short list? Do you think those boosters and those sponsors, advertisers would be more apt to spend a little more cash because their backs are against the wall and they've lost leverage? You're right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, but that doesn't.
It fortifies your point, but I think,
Yeah.
I mean, it fortifies your point. It could definitely go that way. But I still think a commitment will be roughly 90%. I think you're going to see a couple of guys flip right before signing day. I do. That's why I say Tennessee shouldn't give up on the Wilkie Denard kid who went to Auburn. I mean, goodness sake, I've said this a million times. Auburn is going to be lucky to win literally 6 games. If they win 6 games, and I'm including a bowl game, well, they would have to win 6 to get to a bowl game. If they go 6-6 in the regular season, they should give him the Frank Broyles Award to the top assistant coach because he acts like an assistant coach, but he's actually the head coach, and that's Brian Harsin. So
I was reaching.
I was reaching. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't give up on anybody that's committed to Auburn right now, would you?
No, I mean, I honestly wouldn't give up on anybody. Depends on what program you're in, but I wouldn't give up on anybody who's committed to anybody. I mean, really, unless they've committed to one of the schools in the top 3, I'd keep going. I mean, why not? Why not keep going after them? You have how long until they have to sign? It's February, I believe, is the signing day for the 2023 class. So you have a good 6 months, 7 months before they commit.
I know. It's an eternity. It befuddles me why everybody just says, "Oh, he's committed in June. Let's just give up on him." I don't. That's going to change if it hasn't already. It probably has in the minds of coaches. I just when you see the way things are shaking out for Tennessee, they look great, and I feel like everybody, Amanda, is waiting for the next shoe to drop. Whether that's something happening in Oklahoma and they give him a call, or whether that's something happening with Nico, I just feel like people are constantly waiting for something to go wrong. So let's get to on or off the hook. On or off the hook, brought to you today by our very special friends at Craft Treats. Go to Craft Treats, again, crafttreats.com, and Craft Treats has the minor cannabinoids that increase the benefits of CBD, and it's perfect for situational anxiety, things like storm anxiety, car ride anxiety, and the whole 9 yards. So Amanda asked me, are we changing today's tough question? No, I think we can. I guess we could tweak it. How can we tweak it a little bit? Is there a way to
You
tweak
can't. No, you have to delete it.
I hate to hear that.
I
Can we
don't want to
repost
delete
it as who would be most likely to? Just delete and who would be most. I love that. Can we do that?
So you want me to delete it and then change it with the same answer?
I think we have to do that. I think that's very important. I think we can go ahead and do that. But first, before we get to that,
Okay, well, just saying, Kiffin, Ole Miss, that's second place right now. So
Kiffin is second. Okay. You can just comment on it and say, to be clear, Lane Kiffin doesn't have a vote. You position it however you would like.
I'm just gonna delete it. I'm just gonna delete it.
Oh my gosh, she's upset about it.
I am.
I didn't give out the voting.
No, but you could have just not told anybody.
Well, that's actually fair. That is a fair question. On or off the hook today? We get to that right now. Who is on? Who is off the hook? As we're going to talk about some Tennessee practice. Yeah, we're talking about practice. A scrimmage on Tuesday. A lot of questions to be answered. Who is on or off the hook now?
On or off the hook? Who's to blame?
Unleash the fury!
It has to be someone's fault. On or off the hook? Exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker.
All right, Amanda, on or off the hook today is brought to you by our friends at Owl's Nest Barbecue. Owl's Nest Barbecue has all the barbecue supplies you need, whether it's wood chips, wood pellets, whatever it may be. They'll take care of you at Owl's Nest Barbecue. So on or off the hook as we talk about Tennessee scrimmage. So this kind of culminates by the time you factor in the number of practices they have, the warm-up, ramp-up period, they call it. This is kind of the end of the first week. This is Tuesday. So their first practice was on Monday. You have a couple of days of very light practice. You had one day off. But this is kind of the culmination of the first week. So what does Tennessee want to accomplish in Tuesday's scrimmage? Well, I got a couple of different ones. So who is on or off the hook? We ask you that. And we ask you to please subscribe and like our page. We'll show up higher on your YouTube feed. So get upfield now. Rodney Garner made mention of this yesterday, Tennessee's defensive line coach. You know, they're a vertical playing team. They want to make plays. If at the end of the day, Tennessee hasn't been in the backfield some on defense, if they haven't made some plays as far as turning the ball over, pressuring the quarterback, then it's probably not a successful scrimmage. Tennessee's offensive line is good, returning 4 or 5 starters, but still, Tennessee has to prove that they can create more plays upfield because they're going to give up points. Man, I don't think that anybody is saying this Tennessee team is suddenly going to become a lockdown team, but they better be able to create some points too with the way their offense plays.
I mean, that's kind of an obvious kind of statement coming from Tennessee. Like this is like in order to win football, we have to win football.
No, I didn't say that. What I'm saying is that this Tennessee defense, and if I wasn't clear, I apologize. This Tennessee defense, until the offense creates a 4-minute offense in which they can hold on to the ball, let their defense rest, until they do that, this Tennessee defense is not going to stop anybody. And when I mean anybody, they're going to give up a lot of points. So they had better flip the field and create some turnovers. So I guess what I'm saying, until I see the 4-minute offense be a thing, don't get upset with Tennessee being statistically bad at defense as long as they're creating some field flipping plays. Is that a better way of putting it?
I think so. As long as the offense is taking care of the ball and staying out on the field for a significant amount of time and not just handing it to, not just fumbling it or throwing interceptions or what have you, you have to give your defenses rest. Like you have to. If you don't do that, then they're going to get worn down unless you just have depth like in Alabama or in Ohio State, I guess, if you consider that depth in the Big Ten. Unless you have that kind of depth, your defense is going to give up points because who can stay out on the field the whole 60 minutes? Like no one could stay out on the field for that long, or 40 minutes, even that. No one's going to be able to stay out on the field that long and be able to stop a lot of offenses, especially not today's college football.
No, and then find the tailback. Is the tailback going to be Jabari Small, who has gotten bigger? Is it going to be Justin Williams-Thomas, who everybody's talking about? Is it Dylan Sampson, who is one of the fastest players on the team? I don't know, but ultimately there has to be a guy that's ready. I think you want it to be Justin Williams-Thomas, but he's got to be good in pass pro. So find that tailback, find the direction that you want to go in that regard, and then find the defensive.
I think you have two. Sorry.
Oh, I
definitely
think
now you run two. You run two.
Yeah, but I think there's one that you want there in the fourth quarter when things really matter. So who do you put there in the last 5 minutes? Yeah, I don't know, but you definitely have two. You'll probably have three. And then lastly, I said find the defensive transfer that can transform a defense. I don't know if that's Turrentine from Ohio State, Andre Turrentine at cornerback. I don't know if that's Wesley Walker from Georgia Tech that can put a top end on a defensive backfield that gave up a lot of big plays last year. I don't know, but it certainly needs to be one of them. And if not, they're going to have to find somebody else. If not, then they haven't done a great job of Amanda looking at talent and finding talent that's going to fit at Tennessee, because we're talking about transfers. These aren't prospects, or as I would call them, suspects anymore coming out of high school. You should know more about how this player plays on the collegiate level, if he's played on the collegiate level. So there we go. They're on and off the hook today. Those guys are on and off the hook. I've got the defensive backs. I've got the potential left tackles who, since Jalen Wright would move, would most likely be Jeremiah Crawford, senior, or sophomore Gerald Mincy. So those guys are on the hook as well. So a lot of guys on the hook, man. A lot of guys want to have this big first scrimmage. The thing that I find most interesting about this scrimmage is that Tennessee staff has said after practice 2 that they want to be able to have an idea who their starting 5 is. That tells me they've got a pretty good feel for it already. And with 4 or 5 starters returning, you would think that. But it's rare, Amanda, that you will have a coach put a time frame on something like that. So that tells me they feel pretty good about the offensive line, so which is good.
Yeah, they feel good about the offensive line, but I think they're looking for someone to come up and be special, make a play. And here, you have this amount of time in order to do that. If you don't do it within this amount of time, you're not going to see the field. That's pretty much what the coaches are saying. They're talking more to their players, I feel, than they are talking to the media or to the fan base.
Very fair. Orange Blood saying currently our defense gets longer rest due to opponents faking injuries than our offensive pace. Man, that's probably true. As brutal as it is, did Tennessee's defense get more rest against Ole Miss when Tennessee had the ball, or when Ole Miss was faking injuries?
I'd say Tennessee's defense got a lot of rest at the end of the game.
Yeah, the French's mustard thing.
Well, that, but also when, towards the end is when Ole Miss really started faking those injuries. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, it was pretty apparent. So
Yeah.
we'll see if there's anything that college football can do about that. I don't believe so. But one of the guys I did want to get to, we're talking Justin Williams-Thomas, is Jacob Warren. And you can hear Jacob Warren on the Vol Report on offthehooksports.com. Here's Jacob Warren's thoughts on Justin Williams-Thomas as the Vols hold their first scrimmage on Tuesday. I like Jabari Small a lot. I like several of the other tailbacks, but you know who's going to get the most pub, and that's the highly rated guy who comes in that already looks like he's a 24-year-old man in the NFL. And I was very impressed by his maturity when he talked to the media. I mean, he came business-like approach is what popped out in my mind. Like he came there to do his interviews, and then he was going to go do his workouts, or he's going to do whatever he needed to do. And he just seemed like he had that pragmatic sort of feel to him. What do you think of what Justin Williams-Thomas has been able to do at tailback so far?
Yeah, he's definitely that way when it comes to like things like that, like you said, the media and meetings and workouts and stuff, very locked in. But he's also still an 18-year-old kid and really likes just goofing around and hanging out and cracking jokes and whatever it may be. So he's definitely not this like, big-headed, freshman,
Right.
whatever, however many stars he was. I don't know. But kind of came in and just kind of got acclimated pretty quickly and is one of those guys that's really outgoing and makes it easy for some of the people that are already here to kind of get to know him. And obviously, like you said, a very like physically blessed person, right? He's a big back, obviously strong guy, runs the ball really hard, runs really well. I think we'll obviously learn his role, I guess, in the backfield, if that's what you want to call it. But we'll be very good in tandem with Jabari, with Jalen, with we got a couple young backs, and there's another back, Patrick Wilk, no one really knows about. One of our walk-ons, he runs the ball really well. Dylan Sampson, one of our new guys, runs the ball really well. Hunter Barnes runs the ball really well. So I'm just super excited that we've got depth in that room now, and that we're going to be able to. They'll be able to do a lot of things and stay fresh. And Justin will obviously be a really big part of that.
Jacob Warren, and I love the shout out that you get to the young walk-on player, Amanda, and that is one that Tennessee has a tradition of, whether it's Kirsten Biggers or Michael Stewart, who actually went to Hawaii and had an All-American season, I believe, or an All-Conference season. They're always guys that get practice reps that Tennessee tends to get excited about, the fellow players and the fans, but the coaches know that there's a different level between, and I'm not knocking the guy that Jacob just mentioned, but in the end, this is going to come down to Small, Sampson, Justin, Williams Thomas. It's going to come the Lynn T. Gibson guy who transferred from West Virginia. It's going to come down to that group, right?
I believe so. You listed a whole group of people.
And that's 4 dudes. I don't think it's deeper than that.
It's going to come down to these 4 dudes. You have to eliminate a couple of those. I think you have Jabari Small and you have J-Dubs T. That's who I'm going to go with. And I think they have a dual action role. Jabari Small, probably 70%. J-Dubs, probably 30%. And I think that's who you settle with. And God forbid they get hurt, and then you have to figure something else out. But you have to these players have to play as teammates first and foremost. It doesn't matter how talented they are. If you're not a teammate, no one's going to block for you. I mean, honestly, if you're not a part of that team and meshed with that team and coming in with a big head or coming in with, a chip on your shoulder that rubs people the wrong way, it's never going to happen. Like you have to be a teammate and also be a good, like, physically gifted back. You can't just be one or the other.
No, I agree with all of that. So we'll see what happens after the scrimmage today. We'll have a complete wrap-up at offthehooksports.com. We encourage you to check that out, so we'll have news throughout the day. And then looking forward to Amanda's piece tomorrow on the running backs, because Tennessee has a pretty eclectic group. And, let's remember Lynette Whitehead. If he hadn't have gotten hurt before the season, we'd be talking about a deeper group, but he's out for the remainder of the year. So that they got Tennessee thirsty, to use an Amanda term. And I think that's probably why they went and got Gibson. I mean,
they're not thirsty.
What's that?
They're not thirsty.
They're thirsty for somebody to take more carries.
Yeah, but that's not definition of thirsty. Thirsty is when you're trying to get attention or clout or something like that. That's thirsty.
Okay, then they're
needing running backs.
They're hungry for more tailbacks. Then Joe asked, did I mention Jalen Wright? I think he might be number 2. We talked about Jalen Wright with Jacob Warren, Joe, and He might well be number 2 as of today, but I would bet you a off the hook T-shirt that he's not going to be number 2 at the end of camp. I could be wrong. I just see this being a Jabari Small. I think he's the lock. Okay, here's how I think. Here's how I think it'll shake out. Jabari Small is the lock. He's going to be the guy. So the season starts out. He gets, let's say, 50% of the carries. And then I think Justin Williams-Thomas gets the other 40%, and then the other 10 are just kind of spread throughout the remainder of the group. Now, Joe, this is me predicting. I'm not reporting. Nobody has told me this. This is the way I think it's going to shake out. And then at some point during the season, you'll see that start to flip, where Justin Williams-Thomas will start to get a little bit more, that 50% instead of the 40, and Jabari will be more like the 40 guy. Let's remember, Jabari is like 15 pounds lighter. A lot of these guys are 15, 20, 25, in one case, even 30 pounds lighter than Justin Williams-Thomas. It's a long season, Amanda. I mean, some of these guys, if you told some of these guys right now, maybe all of them except for Justin Williams-Thomas, and he's a freshman, that you have to carry the ball 30 times against an SEC opponent every single Saturday throughout this season, I think a couple would be honest with you and say, I don't know that I can do that. I mean, that's pretty darn difficult.
The problem is, though, if they don't, I don't think I can do that, then you don't want them on your team.
Well, I know, but you also have to be honest. I mean, I like to think I could stop a train. I could stand in front of it and stop it like Superman, but I know that I can't. Joe, I've been hearing a lot of Sampson talk as well from coaches. He's probably one of the top 2 fastest players on the team, along with, look, there's a squirrel. I just can't get enough of that nickname. Car shopping made easy.
Your dad jokes.
Car shopping made easy at Vols Automotive. Go to Vols Automotive Group, and it's their mission to be the automotive home of drivers right there in Knoxville, Tennessee, and North Knoxville. They've got a vast selection of used vehicles, exceptional car care, and best of all, they've got the service and the whole 9 yards, so they will take care of you. Back in 2 minutes, some message board bingo. This day in sports history. But really, isn't life just all about message board bingo? I tend to think it is. More after this. Talk to me, Gary Viles.
It's Gary Viles here, Viles Automotive on Callahan Drive. I've been selling cars here in East Tennessee for 27 years. In that time, I've come to realize it's not about the car. It's about you, the customer. So I'm here to take care of you just like family. Good credit, bad credit, you name it, we can get you taken care of. If we don't have it, we can find it for you. We go across the country to get any vehicle that you want. And here at Viles Automotive, we don't believe in fake numbers. We just give you great deals. And as always, we want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassy Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassy, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassy's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassy Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
This is Steve Rain. I own the Midnight Oil and Michelin Tire Direct service station here in Ooltewah. It's not a fancy place, never has been, but it's a clean place with clean restrooms and good folks who work here. We sell gas and fix cars, nothing glamorous, but we love what we do, and we're going to keep doing it for a long time to come. There's not many real service stations left, and that's a shame. We're the guys just like the guys back in your hometown. We'll fix your tire, change your oil, and put a new set of Michelins on your car. If you want a Twinkie, you'll just have to keep on going. Thanks for the business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Alrighty, coming up this day in sports history. Also, we will get to our favorite, and that's message board bingo. What fans in college football have perhaps lost their mind. But first, it is time for, yes, a lot have. It is time for, and before you point fingers, know that it may be you. Recruiting news, we get to that right now. It's time for Talking Cruton on Off the Hook Sports.
Talking Cruton.
Am I right or am I right or am I right?
Who's on Tennessee's board? The names you need to know exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker.
Talking Cruton today brought to you by Big Orange Philly in the heart right there of beautiful Halls. It's on Maynardville Pike. Big Orange Philly is a great place to hang out with your friends and your family. Be sure and check out Big Orange Phillies, and it's easy to find on Maynardville Pike. And be sure and subscribe to this video because we want to be a part of your day and bring you Tennessee and SEC content like simply no one else can. So let's talk some Cruton. If you have any questions, by the way, some recruiting questions, and you want to get on board, go ahead and do that. Send us a message via Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, and we'll address those. So a couple of things in terms of recruiting. Talking Cruton brought to you by Big Orange Phillies today. After recently visiting Tennessee, one of the Vols defensive line targets planning to announce his college decision soon. We talked about this. Tavion Gadsden, Jenkins High School in Savannah. He posted Monday on his Twitter account that he will announce his decision Thursday at 2 o'clock. 6'4", 280 pounds, named Florida State, Georgia, Kentucky, Minnesota, and Tennessee. According to 24/7, his leaders on July the 27th. So way to go, Golden Gophers. Still, this feels like a good one for Tennessee. I'm not predicting anything, but it does feel like a good one. He recently visited Tennessee, but he also has gotten some more interest from Georgia, I'm told. So we'll see, but that'll be Thursday. Tennessee hosted Baton Rouge cornerback Jordan Matthews for an official visit over the weekend of June the 24th. Since returning home from that visit, Matthews has worked towards making a college decision. He will do so here shortly, later this week. I'm told this is Texas, pretty strong. Now, I always throw the disclaimer in there, Amanda. It's recruiting. You could do hashtag it's recruiting. So the kid could change his mind 3 seconds before he picks up a hat. But I'm told this is a Texas log. But the
That's
Tennessee.
fair. I just can't believe this is a lot about LSU. Baton Rouge, the kids from Baton Rouge.
Now, that's one, to go back to your earlier point, okay, of flipping, that Louisiana kids are notorious for saying, hey, I'm going to go elsewhere, and then flipping right before signing day back to LSU. So
But he's not – LSU's not even on his list, is it?
Well, it makes you wonder if he's got an issue there, if he maybe like the previous coaching staff. They're going to have some of that there because – no, Ed Orgeron is a player's coach. I will tell you that. And listen, the stuff I've heard, I'm not even going to repeat about what went on under Orgeron at LSU, but it's the type of stuff that some 17-year-old kids would think is cool. Now, I don't think it's cool.
Ooh.
My son's 17. He doesn't think it's cool. My daughter's 19. She doesn't think it's cool. But some...
She's 20.
Yes, she just turned 20. You're right. So some of the prospects out there would think it was cool. So with that being said, he was also a very hands-on recruiter. I think there is going to be a bit of a hands-on recruiter. I think there's a bit of a hangover there. There will be in recruiting, just from he had such great relationships. Some of these high school coaches are going to be like, you saw how they did at Orgeron. He's one of ours. Don't go there. So it doesn't mean Brian Kelly's not going to overcome that. He will. And he will be a champion.
The rap videos.
Yes, that's all he needs. And an accent. But he will be a championship contender at LSU. There's no question in my mind. I just think there is going to be some relationships to repair. That's not hard. Former Alabama linebacker King Mwikuta. Do you want to help me with that? Former four-star prospect from West Point, Georgia, signed with Alabama in the class of 2019, announced his intentions to transfer after the 2021 season, chose to play at Arkansas State under former Tennessee head coach and Alabama assistant Butch Jones. So as if that didn't suck out all of his love of football, Makuta's stay will not last until the 2022 season. He has entered the transfer portal, and he will go elsewhere. He played in 30 games for the Crimson Tide. It's just weird to me, guys that play a lot for a program that sends players to the NFL decide to bolt elsewhere. But you know as well as I do, Amanda, what can happen at Alabama is you think you've got your starting spot locked down, and they get this war daddy from South Georgia.
I like the War Daddies.
Don't like the War Daddy. But you can get benched by a younger guy. Not everybody is Will Anderson.
No, obviously, but I feel like that's a good thing. It should make you want to work harder. It should make you want to do more. And as a coach, this would tell me that this kid just somebody else came in and he just pieced out. Like, all right, see ya. That's not a player that you want on your team, in my opinion. That's not a team player. Not everybody is Jalen Hurts, and I get that, because what he did there was phenomenal as far as being about the team. But this kid, if you win under Butch Jones, you got problems.
Probably Glenn saying, I think JWT will be starting by the LSU game. Justin Williams-Thomas. Pull up the LSU game.
Look at your JWT sticking. Look at that.
Oh yeah, so that's a thing now?
Yeah. Apparently, look at you go.
Well, I have my moments. Okay, so before or after, that's a very interesting game that you picked. So good call on that. So Tennessee plays October the 8th at LSU. So that'll be after Ball State, after a trip to Pitt. That'll be hosting Akron. That'll be hosting Florida. So you would think with Ball State, you would have a really, really good idea of how your young running backs, and I'm including Small in that group. I probably shouldn't. But I'm including him in that just from the perspective of, is he going to be the guy? The guy that gets the lion's share or the majority of the carry. So you got a good idea after Ball State. Tennessee at Pitt, you know how they react on the road. Then Akron to further evaluate Justin Williams-Thomas, Small, and all of the other running backs, and Sampson and the Gibson kid. And then Florida at Tennessee. Now that's the one you got to be ready for. So I see things happening in one of two directions. Justin Williams-Thomas having a good game against Florida, and then there's no question he's the leader and he's your guy against LSU. I don't say leader, I mean the leading rusher the next week. The other thing that could play out is that Tennessee loses to Florida. They don't get the production that they thought they should have gotten out of the tailback position. Who remembers Jamal Lewis? That happened with Tennessee playing Florida because he didn't know pass protection, and then came out and, goodness gracious, thought he was going to win the Heisman Trophy his freshman year. So that's happened before. So Justin Williams-Thomas might not be utilized enough, and then he could be the guy against LSU. So if you had to predict when he might be the guy, Amanda, or will he be the guy? I know you like Jabari Small. I mean, you think
I do. I like Jabari Small. There's just something to say for someone with experience, even if somebody else behind him may be more physically talented in that area. Somebody experience sometimes trumps physical talent in situations like this. However, if you drop one of those games, if you drop Florida or you drop Pitt, I could see a change. Especially if the running game's not up to par. Like if you're only getting 1 yard a carry, 2 yards a carry, I can see a change at running back.
Yeah, I think if they lose to Pitt or Florida, I think Tennessee's looking at making some changes. I don't mean massive changes yet. I don't think it's time to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but or the baby out with the craft beer because they have it at Zool Beer. Zool Beer Company.
Don't throw the baby out. Don't throw the baby out.
Don't throw the baby out. It is right there. They've got panoramic views of downtown Knoxville. Great place to hang out. And Amanda, best of all, they've got worldwide award-winning beer. It's not easy to say. It's not easy to do, but they've done it at Zool Beer Company.
It's not easy to do, especially when you've only been open when it was done only a year and a half. That's pretty incredible, and that looks good for things to come in Zool's future. Beer is amazing. You have to get down there on Fridays. Bridge Burgers is there, and they're amazing too. So it's a great pairing. You'll really like it.
So as we wrap up our recruiting, you got Notre Dame at number 1, the number 1 class in the nation. Again, I told you that's a very players-friendly coach. I don't know how long that sticks. If he may not even be in the top 10 next year. We'll see. Alabama in at number 2, according to 24/7, their composite rankings. Ohio State 3, Georgia 4, Texas, as ballyhooed as they've been, they're still 5. Oklahoma in at 6. LSU, so much for what I said about repairing relationships, they're in at 8. Clemson is 7. Then Miami 9. Penn State is 10. Tennessee is number 11. As far as the rest of the SEC, Florida in recruiting comes in at number 13 in this upcoming class. Arkansas number 14. And South Carolina number 18. So impressive run by Shane Beamer and what he's been able to do. So that is pretty strong. I want to remind you, if you are in need of a way to get around a little bit easier, Pedigo has you taken care of. Pedigo, Chattanooga, locally owned store where you'll be treated like family. Great place to hang out for the weekend, enjoy yourself, bike around. They're the region's foremost electric bike experts, and they put their hearts into helping you find the perfect electric bike, get the most out of it for many years to come. And don't forget that they have the service department. A lot of people don't have that. So as far as this day in sports history, I want to get to that, but there's something that's much, much more important in my opinion, and I know Amanda's opinion, and it is time for message board bingo with, that's right, a brand new music bed, something that you can only get at Off the Hook Sports. Message board bingo. I feel like we're just filming. All right, is that going to be your answer? Do you remember when
I don't know what that even means.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Somebody back me up on the YouTube feed.
That's fine, but that's horrible.
Do you remember when he talked Norm Macdonald? So Norm Macdonald's like really smart. And he talked Norm Macdonald out of taking the final answer. Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure, Norm? Think about the kids. Because the money goes to your charity. That's how Regis Philbin talked. And so Norm Macdonald goes, I feel pretty good there about doing that, about going and getting my million, but you're kind of scaring me there. And I think I'm going to go B, and that's going to be my final. Wait a second, Norm. You got to think about this. And so he didn't go with it. And then he, sure enough, not only did he overtalk his music bed, but he also would have gotten the correct answer, and Regis Philbin talked him out of it. So that was $500,000 that would have gone to the kids. You want me to restart the music?
He hates the kids. He hates the kids.
Message board bingo bet is back in effect. All right, so message board bingo. Here we go. What do you got? What fan said this?
Weird rumors online and YouTube about Aggies approaching Big Ten about move. Sources say rumors started on 365 radio in Waco. Has anyone heard anything about this? Seems far-fetched, but nothing would surprise me anymore.
So the crux is, who is moving where again?
Aggies approaching Big Ten about move.
Okay. I'm going to go Texas is saying that just because it sounds dumb.
Yep.
Oh, right. 1-0.
Wow. That's a first.
That's a first.
Okay.
And I raised my arm and hurt my old shoulder. All right, go ahead.
I'm going to mix two together. It's the same fan base, so
might have to mix in two beds is what I'm going to do. You're taking so long.
That's okay. You with the music beds that sound like we're in, I don't even know where.
I'm telling you, Norm. It's $1 million to the kids.
All right. So one of them says Urban Meyer called and said you can leave now. And somebody said, well, contact that SOB again. And the person responded with, I'll build his house with my bare butt.
So they want Urban Meyer to be their head coach. So this is obviously a fan base that does not care about their community and the safety of its citizens.
Obviously not.
Because I got zero idea on this one. Who is a fan base that's struggling right now that is prideful? Gosh, man, I'd say it. I got nothing. I don't even have a good guess.
Throw it out. You got to throw out somebody. I don't care if it's SMU. Throw it out.
Michigan.
Michigan doesn't want to get rid of Harbaugh. They love Harbaugh.
You made me I know you made me make a bad guess. I don't think
Auburn.
Oh.
You know Auburn. Good Lord.
I feel really stupid. I should have gotten
You should. All right. Last one.
Oh, we got another one? Okay, here we go.
We have one more. Yeah. Oh, no. Okay. I feel like we're in space or something.
This is a great
I'm saying. What?
This is a great music bed.
Stop it.
Obviously, someone has spent hours working on this.
I am terribly embarrassed for your entire family. Okay, all I'm saying is that big donors can easily come up with the seed money to get the class back on its feet. There are donors here who got 200 million businesses that could easily kick out 10% cash flow per year, 20 mil. They had to do the math for you just to pay the piper. Yeah, no, they had to do the math for you. So for all those that claim it's against NCAA rules, NCAA is done with. They are a substitute teacher that nobody listens to. Buck up.
Boy, I don't know if you meant to, but it was like a radio veteran. You did it right into the post. The bed ended right when you asked the question. That was golden.
Thank you.
I have no idea who it is. I'm still stuck on the fact that you're bears for my whole family. I will take Auburn again.
No, who thinks that anybody in Auburn has 200 million in businesses?
Oh, I tell you what, I tell you who I will take. Who has 200? But okay, I'm doing this on the premise that they don't, because the fans are on message boards and they're misinformed. Okay, so I'm going to look at the recruiting rankings. All right, so this is the way I'm going to break this down to see if I can come with the best answer possible. So you're saying salvaging the recruiting. So Clemson is at number 7, which isn't bad, but they're used to being 1, 2, or 3 in the nation. So I'll say it is Clemson, knowing that in the back of my mind I've been to Clemson and there's not $200 million just flying around campus. So I think they're misinformed, but I'm going to go with Clemson.
It's Michigan.
Could I not get a hint that I just asked that question?
I put Buck Up in there. Well, they put Buck Up. So I thought you'd go with Ohio State because Buck Up, Buckeyes.
Yeah. Has anybody ever eaten a Buckeye? Are you allowed to eat those? Are Buckeyes poisonous?
It depends. If you're talking about the nut, the Buckeyes, I have no idea, but they do make these things called Buckeyes where they're like peanut butter and chocolate, and those things are fantastic.
I think those are just called Reese's Cups. Peanut butter and chocolate? They do that first?
They're little round balls, and they have peanut butter, and the chocolate goes over them, and they're called Buckeyes, and they are great. This is the only thing about Ohio that's good is the Buckeyes. And it's the chocolate ball Buckeyes.
I know who came up with those. I think it's
probably an Ohio State fan.
Well, no, they're like little balls of sugar and chocolate, right? Basically, is what they are.
Yeah. Peanut butter.
Right. So it's Mr. Schwetty came up with that.
Oh, stop it.
All right, this day in sports history. This day in sports history brought to you by Vassy Lawn and Garden. Vassy Lawn and Garden knows history because they have been around for decades, providing you with all you need for your lawn, whether it's residential, commercial, whatever the case may be. They've got the mowers, trimmers, blowers for you. Vassy Lawn and Garden, man alive, it's worth the drive. Toro, count on it. So this day in sports history, Amanda, what stands out to you?
So I've got one from yesterday that I am very shocked that you did not get. And that was, it is Smokey's first birthday yesterday.
I
So
did
this
miss
day in
that.
sports history, yesterday, Smokey was born.
Do you know the other one too? If we're going to cheat a little bit, and I'm totally fine with that, is the other one that happened yesterday was the Chicago Cubs had their first night game. And this sounds so foreign, especially to somebody as young as you, but 1988 was their first night game. They put lights up. Okay. So what happened? It rained. And so there was a
Obviously.
it's the Cubs. There's a 3-hour rain delay. For those of you that don't remember, because the Cubs have won a championship fairly recently, they used to be considered the losers of all the sports. So they have, but the best part about it is, Amanda, they have this Cubs fan who you may have heard of. He's been in some movies. He goes by the name of Bill Murray. And so he just happened to be hanging out because it was a big event. It was the first night game at Wrigley Stadium. I mean, imagine the first night game
Wrigley Field.
Wrigley Field. Yeah, Wrigley Field. Imagine the first night game at Neyland Stadium, what that must have been like. So this is a huge, huge deal for Wrigley Field. And it is Field, not Stadium. My apologies. So who do they have wandering around? It's Bill Murray. So what do they do for the 3-hour rain delay? I watched about 30 minutes of it last night. They just sat there and talked about baseball and drank as many beers as they could. And it was absolutely great. And I'm not sure that Harry Carey completely knew who Bill Murray was. It was, hi, it's awesome to have you here. And what about these lights? That's what it was, Amanda. That's essentially the 30 minutes that I dedicated my decompression time to yesterday. For those of you that can't see, Amanda's tapping her forehead. Of my impressions that I've done today, which did you like most? Regis Philbin, Norm Macdonald, or lastly, Harry Carey?
Do I have to answer?
It's a simple question. Just give me an answer. That was Harry Carey.
No.
That was more like John.
I will not give.
That was more like John Travolta. By the way, Olivia Newton-John passed away yesterday.
What a sad day. I know.
First crush, that was mine. Grease, the only musical that a man is allowed to watch by himself. That's a fact. And yeah, she was actually, what's weird is it was Grease 2 with Michelle Pfeiffer that I had my first celebrity crush on.
I have seen that movie like 50 times, and I don't know why. Because it's horrible.
It's like
The
good enough that
worst.
it draws you in, but it's not good at all.
So bad. It is so bad.
We're gonna bowl, we're gonna rock and roll, we're gonna bowl all tonight. Yeah, they did a whole 4-minute song about bowling. It's not
awful.
But I did like Michelle Pfeiffer in that movie. I thought she was quite fetching. What was your first celebrity crush? You're but a young 12, 13-year-older, and you're like, man, that guy's awesome. That Timberlake guy.
I wasn't. Oh no, I wasn't 12 or 13 when I had my first crush, but it was Devin Sawa and Casper. When Casper was the friendly ghost, but then he changed into the human form.
I have not seen that stupid movie.
Okay. Okay, well, first of all, it's not stupid, and you just talked about Grease too. So Casper changes into the human form, and at the end, Casper gives up the human form so that her dad, who drunkenly gets into the cart and just drives himself off of a cliff, can come back as her father. And he I was like, just keep it, Casper. Just stay stay as a human. Just screw the dad. Just stay as a human because you are beautiful. I remember thinking that when I was like 8.
So the guy, the I saw on your Twitter that it was the guy that played Casper.
He played in Little Giants too. Yeah. It's like Devin Sawa or something like that. I remember seeing him turn into Casper, and I was like, or Casper turn into him, and I was like, ooh, buddy. Casper looked good.
Also this day in sports history, it is Deion Sanders' birthday. Guess how old Deion Sanders is?
56.
55. Pretty
wow,
good.
I was close. I was really close.
So, yeah, you were asking me if I could find a picture of my pants in the Landon Collins announcement.
Oh yeah.
I remember on Twitter, and I tried, I couldn't, but I'm off to the screen right. And but that was the same week that I had the opportunity to meet Deion Sanders, and he shows up. So you're not supposed to. I mean, obviously, like if Peyton Manning or any Danny Werfel or whoever, great player shows up, it's going to help you in recruiting the top 80 prospects in the nation, which is why you're not allowed to go there. Well, Deion knows no rules. He just walks right in. He's like, he starts talking to specifically the 6 guys that Florida State is recruiting. And this is in January when National Signing Day is 2 weeks away. And this is happening. And so he made some time for the media, I guess you would want to put it. And so everybody's asking him, so how awesome is it to be here and all this stuff? And I'm thinking, like, he's never been in the football stadium before. Like, he's never been in San Antonio before. I just, all these softball questions. So, I mean, not that I'm one to rankle any feathers or fur or whatever that would be. But I said, well, I said, it's nice to meet you there, Mr. Prime. No, I just call him Deion. But I said, it's nice to meet you, Deion. Do you think that your presence here could help Florida State in recruiting? And that interview was over. That ended,
of course it was.
That ended right at that moment. He said, no, I'm just here to visit with the kids and be a positive influence to them. It has nothing to do with Florida. I'm not here for Florida State. Like, okay.
Visit with the kids that are going to big time colleges and are the best in the nation.
You didn't visit with that 3-star scrub that somehow got an invite to this event and is going to Austin Peay. You didn't visit with him. You visited with the Florida State guys. But yeah, Deion Sanders, though, most dominant defensive player that I have seen after watching football since, say, hardcore since 82. I would have been 8. But I would say he's on the second tier. I think it's, in my opinion, it's Lawrence Taylor, and then it's everybody else. But I think Deion Sanders is right up at the top of that tier. That would include Reggie White and several other guys. I think he was that special and a lot bigger in person than you would think. I'll send you some pictures. He towered over me. Stood next to Cam Newton. Wouldn't you think Cam Newton would tower over him? He didn't. They were almost the same size. I mean, Deion was slimmer.
Well, Cam's big. Cam is tall.
He's like 6'5". Well, I don't know if his shoes or what, but he was taller than Deion. Don't get me wrong, but Deion was a much larger individual. Kind of like remember when we were in Atlanta and the Cedric Tillman. I saw him in person. I was like, that's a bigger dude than he looks on tape, and it was kind of that same feeling. It was like, goodness gracious,
Tim Tebow.
Yeah, Tim Tebow is massive.
Tim Tebow is like this wide, but it was all like literally all muscle. Like he could go out on a football field right now and just run you over.
Did he hug you? He hugged me the first time he met me.
No, he didn't hug me. That's been weird. I've been like, what are you doing?
Maybe we can make that happen in SEC Media Days 2023.
Thank you.
Brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning and Off the Hook Sports. Have a fantastic day, everyone. We will talk to you at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Yes, what?
We didn't even do today in sports history. We just talked about yesterday.
I did Deion. Oh, okay. Sorry. Do you have more? I'm up for more. This day in sports history.
That's not really even a day in sports. So in 2012, Jamaican sprint superstar Usain Bolt wins the 200 meter at the London Olympics to become the first person ever to win 100 and 200 meters double in back-to-back Olympics. So just FYI. There we go. That's all I have.
I would be very interested to see where he ranks among the athletes that have held on to the record the longest. So he ran 9.58 seconds in 2009. Let's think about that for a second, Amanda. Last I checked, it's 2022. That's been 13 years ago. These records used to fall like every 3 or 4 months, or at least every year. This one's just sticking, and nobody can top it. I mean, we'll do our research. Do you do your research? Said Butch Jones. So we'll do our research, but I wonder where that ranks among the guys that have held that very, very awesome mark of being the fastest man in the world. I doubt many people have held that for 14 years, 13 years. I doubt very many. Would you? I wouldn't think so.
I doubt it. I mean, he was just a freak of nature.
And he ran straight up too. It was so bizarre. I mean, I'm shaking my head like you can see me, but for those listening, but it just is so bizarre that he was that dominant. And I guess in the back of my mind, I thought, oh, they're going to have more and there's going to be doping scandals. There hasn't been any of that. He's just as fast.
Freakishly fast.
She's Amanda LaFratta. I'm Dave Hooker. Vol Steak says, look at those pretty lips. He's talking about mine. Have a fantastic day.
Yeah, of course he is.
We'll talk to you at 8:30 tomorrow morning, and we will have the latest on the Vols after their first scrimmage of the preseason. So have a fantastic day, afternoon, night, whenever you happen to be listening. This is a